Well, thank you. Of course, I'm here to talk about government programs, probably your most exciting thing you guys are going to hear about all day, right? I've 16 years now working for soil and water districts. I started in St. Clair County, and I have been to Piatt County and Champaign County. And so, as you guys know, there is quite a difference in soil, and believe it or not, quite a difference in soil and water districts across our fine state. Pictured up here, because I have to, promote the bosses. This is my board, 5-member board. Champaign, I'm lucky enough that we have a representative in every corner, because we're a nice square county, imagine that. And then Ms. Eleanor up there is actually a licensed engineer, and she lives in Urbana, and so we have a nice round board which keeps me hopping all the time. So government services. USDA service centers. You guys have all visited them, I hope. If not, I hope you do. This is a great place. One thing I really recommend is anytime you take over any ground, please, once you have the lease, once you have the title, go into the USDA service. The thing is, we move a lot of paperwork in a lot of these services. We don't know who owns the ground, and I've seen it happen more than once where someone else is getting a payment on the ground just because the paperwork hasn't been followed up on. So help us keep our records straight, please. Now, up here, the most common, I was told there's, almost every office in the 97 counties that still have an office in the state of Illinois. We have 102 counties, but 97 offices. You're going to find these 3 agencies in those offices. Now, a few of them, we're lucky here in Champaign, we'll have these 2 here. I'm not going to touch much on rural development. They're more active in the home loans. They're more active in helping communities get water towers and that sort of thing. But the Farm Loan Service, I will touch on that just a bit. All right, here's the jokes for the day, guys. I used to have hair. This is my jokes for the day. I'll be honest with you, though, as a government person or someone who works in the office, I feel a lot like this pipe here. They tell me that don't hang signs, and then they hang a sign on us. One thing that's really funny about the government is you guys more than once, you will come into the office with this great program that we're offering. We're offering it. Yeah, they went ahead and gave it to Farm Week or some farm publication or put it in the news that we're offering it, but please give us 3 weeks because we haven't even heard about it yet. Never get ahead of the politicians. Okay, so I work for a soil water district, 5-member board. What we do, I have some papers in the back. We do things like help put on drainage district meetings. Matter of fact, we're also trying to plan a pond meeting here in Champaign County. We're going to try and plan a bee workshop here in Champaign County. We do different things like that. If there's a need out there, let us know. We'll try and help plan it. We'll even partner up with everybody else that we can to make it happen. My Soil and Water District Board is very active, so back there in the back, I didn't have time to get it in our PowerPoint. We're actually starting a 5-star field evaluation, where our board will say that you guys have earned a 5-star the way you're taking care of your soil and your field. And they're laying in the back. It's a really short, simple questionnaire you fill out. You give it to us. We have a little chart we put it in, and we tell you where you're ranking towards conservation on the ground. We're rolling that out right now. We're just starting it. So we do all kinds of things like that. I've only got a couple. Of course, we do the newsletter, try and keep everybody informed. So that's what my board does. They keep me hopping with all of that. I put this up here to let you know there is a soil and water district in or near you. There's a NRCS office in or near you, and that's not the one with the directory, so we will go on. Here we go. If you're trying to find one, there's the directory. I didn't bring any because yesterday one of the reps came over, and I just found out that this map is changing. All right? So it's better to go to the website. You get more accurate information. I believe that's in your book, too. I'm glad she printed the handouts. So one of our biggest partners, Illinois Department of Ag. They provide us money to operate on. They also provide us cost share programs. So here are a couple websites for you to check out. They are also offering a transition money for organic ag. You're going to see that's coming from them. It's also coming from FSA. It's also coming from NRCS. So there's money out there to help you make the transformation. The one thing that I like this year is, believe it or not, even with our state budget, nearly every district got cost share money. Soil and water districts got cost share money for projects. Now, unfortunately, it has to be in a certain watershed, so it's going to depend on where you live. One of the reasons my farmers like us soil and water districts versus the federal agency is, for us, you have probably a maximum of 3 pieces of paper to fill out. And to be honest with you, you're going to find the soil and water district staff takes care of that for you. We just ask for receipts. So we try to help you as much as possible through that awful paperwork of 3 pieces of paper. You're going to laugh even more if I told you how much federal paperwork you got to do for their programs. But here's some of the programs. Really popular ones, believe it or not, are actually those cover crops and well decommissioning. You would be shocked at how many wells are still out there that we have not sealed properly. We have a cost share program, whether it's home or irrigation. Pasture and hayland plantings are out there. Okay, so like I said, agribusiness tourism, organic certification, these are some side grants that don't go through the Soil and Water District. They go straight through the Department of Ag. But they're out there. They've put money aside. Even with our state budget, there's still money in there. And I'm trying to just make sure I cover everything. I know these are in your programs, so you'll be able to come back to them. Yeah, and then I also bring this up. This usually trips up a lot of people because they don't realize this. But you do need licenses to sell eggs. Our Soil and Water District, we hold a license to sell trees. A lot of this is not, it's not there to trip you up. It's more of a tracking in case some sort of disease breaks out. For instance, how many of you realize that beehives have to be registered? That usually trips up a lot of people in the urban areas. They don't realize that. It costs you absolutely nothing to register your beehive, but your beehive has to be registered with the Department of Ag. If you don't register it, a disease happens, they find it, there's some pretty huge fines. Okay, that's the downside. And it's not there to be mean or anything. It's so they can warn you that there's a disease coming, contact you, let you know, that sort of thing. Okay, moving on. FSA. Guys, these are money people. Farm Service Agency, these are money people. These guys can help you. And a lot of people don't realize they have a lot of programs out there that can help you. And a lot of people don't even think about it. So Farm Service Agency, that's their homepage. They have probably one of the most used programs after the farm loans and stuff is the Conservation Reserve Program. This is a great program. It has lots of different benefits. How many of you need a windbreak? They have a cost share program. Did you know that you could get possibly get up to 90% of the trees paid for and put in the ground? And then, oh, hey, yeah, we're going to give you a rental payment for that ground for 10 years. Okay? One of our most popular ones, and I put the best handout I've found for it in the back, is they call it CP42, Pollinator Program. This is where you set aside half an acre, a minimum, no more than a 20-foot strip wide, ground into flowers. You can hunt it. You just have to stay off of it. Can't drive on it unless you're out spot spraying or something. But if you don't use any chemicals on it, in 10 years, how hard do you think it's going to be to certify this organic? Not to mention the ground if you pull this out in 10 years with these deep-rooted plants. I mean, this is putting prairie back in place. Now, this program has been so popular, they finally capped it. We had guys putting in 200-300 acres. And the reason being is some of the ground, because the soil rental rate is based on your soil type. Some of the ground, the guys were making upwards of $400 an acre to plant these flowers. And then all you have to do is burn a third of it once every year. That's your maintenance plan. And you're going to get $400. And when you're done, if you burn it and don't use any chemicals on it, you'll have an organic farm. Plus, I don't know if there's any hunters out there. Great habitat for hunters. I don't know if there's anybody who's raising bees. There's going to be a lot more bees and a lot more happy bees, I'm pretty sure. We in this county have a huge acres, but we're second in the nation in Illinois for pollinator right now, and we're well over 50,000 acres is what should be planted by the end of the summer. 50,000 acres of pollinator. So this is in the back. It's one of the better programs. They have lots of programs like that. The one thing I tell a lot of people, anybody's interested in tree farming, you should look at the Windbreak Program. I've talked to the head of the Tree Farm Association. The hardest cost for tree farmers getting started is that you've got at least 10 to 12 years before your trees are ready after you plant them. Well, guess what? Why not plant a windbreak type structure that helps you and get a rental payment to help at least cover the taxes of that property while you're getting ready? So I try and use these programs appropriately, but they have a lot of other uses that nobody ever thinks about. So that's the Conservation Reserve Program. That's the top one. There's some others that come through FSA. The emergency ones are dependent on weather and so forth. The Grassland Reserve and the Farmable Wetlands Program, these are all more specific to each individual and setup. One it's kind of popular, people don't realize, but if you need cold storage, now this can't be storage like at a supermarket, but you need storage. Cold storage, you can get a loan from FSA for that. You can also get a bin loan. They still have that program. I double-checked that before I came, by the way. They still have the program. Now, they can't be for commercial sale. They've got to be for wholesale. So you can have these type of coolers I have pictured, but you can't let the customer come right up and to your farm and pull stuff off of that. That's where they draw the line. It's supposed to be for wholesale, not for consumer final product sale. They do have microloans. Those are still out there from Farm Service Agency, 7 years. And they're actually very fair interest rate and so forth. This title I always cringe on this title, guys. This is they call it beginner farmers loans. You've got to run the operation for 3 years before you're a beginning farmer to them. They need to come up with a better title to me. This is not someone who's just starting out, but they do have these types of loans. And the one other thing I've talked to the FSA loan officers and so forth. A lot of times, if you're working with a bank, they're not quite sold on you, but you come to these guys and their process and you're about to sign, and you go back to the bank and let them know that the Farm Service Agency is going to back you. Say the bank's only going to give you 40 or 50% of what you need. You're going to get the rest from FSA. They said about 8 out of 10 times the bank's going to just say, no, if you're good enough for FSA, we'll just go ahead and loan the whole thing. And I'll be honest with you, that's the route you want to go. These government programs are awesome, but when you get to the federal, paperwork. It's what makes the federal government run. You're going to have a lot more paperwork, a lot more reporting than you're going to have to the bank, okay? Plus, my experience, you're going to get a lot more one-on-one with the bank help than you are with Farm Service Agency, mainly because the loan officer, he's trying to cover, like the one we have currently, I think he's covering 8 counties. That's quite a driving workload, let alone the number of people he has. So, this is one of the ones we share an office with, NRCS. These guys have some excellent programs. They love their paperwork, though. I'll be the first to tell you. They have some excellent programs, though. Everything from that block shoot to stream protection is in their gambit. Actually, when you work with CRP, you get all the technical side from these guys. So here's some of the websites. They're in your booklet. RCPP. This is out there, not something I recommend you apply for, but when you see RCPP, think separate pot of money. That's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a separate pot of money set aside for whatever they put it aside for, okay? The SIG grant. This might be something a lot of you guys ought to think about. This is an innovative grant. They're wanting new ideas. What is a new farming practice? What is a new idea? I've seen them give up to $200,000 for someone to try a completely different crop rotation idea. We got one at the office for $30,000 to soil sample. Now, granted, we took out we took about 4 tons of soil out of a 5-acre field to do all the testing, but they give the grants. That's a very good grant program. CSP, if you're already a good farmer, got all the conservation in place, if you got the right amount of acres, they're going to pay you up to $45,000 a year just for being a good farmer. Now, my only drawback to CSP is before you go into that, make sure you know what you want to do, because you're kind of locking yourself into a 5-year plan. You can change it, but you've got to contact the office and go through the hoops. But if you're set with a 5-year plan and you're good to go, this is not a bad program whatsoever now. Now, this one down here in the bottom, if you guys haven't figured it out, I'll just tell you how it is. I don't care. I'm going to tell you how it is. This one down here at the bottom is called Environmental Quality Incentive Program. When that first came out, I would tell you guys to run. Do not look at it. Do not do anything with it, because they were promising you 60% of the cost of whatever you did, fencing, new spray nozzles, whatever. The thing they didn't tell you is 60% of the day you sign up. So if you didn't get to putting in the fence till 3 years later and the prices quadrupled, you were only going to get 60% of the day you signed up. And even then, it didn't always come up to 60%. The reason I like the program now is when you sit down, you come up with your plan, you know what you're going to do, they're just going to tell you, this is the money we're going to give you. That's it. That's it. There's no 60%. There's no average cost. No. You're going to put in 100 feet of fence. This is what we're going to pay you. Doesn't matter if you do it today. Doesn't matter if you do it 4 years from now. That's what you're going to get. And I like that much better because you can know going into it what you're going to get, and it makes budgeting a whole lot easier. All right? This program also, EQIP, has so many things. You got stream bank you need repaired. You got fencing you need done. Anybody need hoop houses? Do you know what hoop houses are? They're greenhouses. They have money. They have a separate $1 million set aside to help you get hoop houses, guys. All you've got to be willing to do is some paperwork. And when that first came out, that one I told you to run away from too. I don't anymore. Because now they'll let you put fans in them. They'll let you run electricity out to them. I don't know who thought of the program when they first came up with it. They were going to cost share on hoop houses, but they wouldn't let you put a fan in it. They weren't even really hip on you putting a door on the end of it. I was like, how in the world are they going to get in to plant anything? They since wised up, but the fan and stuff will have to be on your dime. But the hoop house, you can get it paid for and set aside. Now, they won't let benches be in there, so you can't make it a true greenhouse. But you can also go, instead of just the plastic, they'll let you use the different panels. I'm sorry? Yeah, Lexon, and there's actually a whole list of different products you can use now. And they don't have to be the standard hoop. You can go more different traditional sizes, stuff like that. So, yeah, great program if anybody needs it. Don't go and say greenhouse, they'll go and call them seasonal high tunnels. Yeah, us government love our acronyms and our special sayings. But, there's some standards for you. They're a great tool for stretching out your seasons. Okay, yeah, I went to school, and that's what I wanted to have was a bunch of greenhouses, so I'll get off that high horse. Organic operations transitions. EQIP has money for this. Again, separate pools of money. I guess I don't explain this good enough for you. Yes. Because once you get ahead of them, you'll never get it done. This is true. You can't go in today and expect money tomorrow. The reason is they'll take applications all year long, any day, any time. But the thing of it is they'll only allocate the money when it's given to them from Washington, D.C. So they could get the money in 2 weeks. They'll have what they call a batching period. So anybody who's got an application in will go in for ranking, and they will just pay out until the money's done. All right, now, if you didn't get any money, your application doesn't go in the trash. It's still in there, and they just wait for the next allocation of money to come, and then they rank everybody they got, and again, they pay out. We've got poor guys that have been sitting there for 2 or 3 years waiting. And I'm going to tell you one thing. In EQIP, the more you're willing to do, the higher you're going to rank. Now, it doesn't have to always be big things like a hoop house. It can be small things like nutrient management planning, changing spray nozzles. There's a lot of little things you can do, but you want a lot of those little things so that you rank higher and get the most points. Now, the pools of money I've been talking about. When you put an application into just general equip, you believe it or not are going up against everybody in the nation. I'm not joking you. So you're going from Washington State to Washington, D.C., and everybody in between, and Hawaii and Alaska and Puerto Rico. You're competing against all of them. But when they have special pools of money, like for the hoop houses, they have $1 million just for Illinois citizens. Now, guys, we've never spent the $1 million. We've had to return it almost every year, a good portion of it. When you see the RCPP, that's a special pool of money for your area. Like if you need a forestry plan and you live south of Douglas right now, there's a cluster of counties down there that got an RCPP. They got like $2 million to help you with forestry plans and doing implementation. That's a special pot of money that nobody else can get into but you guys. So you got to look for those things. And don't be scared to go to the office and ask them, because there's actually a statewide RCPP right now where if you're willing to convert over to cover crops and strip till and side dressing, you'd be in a special pool of money. And these increases your odds drastically, because I'm going to tell you the truth, we don't get a numerous amount of applications in Illinois. I don't know why. You look at Kentucky and Indiana, they get 4 times the applications that we do. And the sad thing is, because they get so many applications, the money we return goes almost practically straight to them. Whereas if we had the numerous applications, it would come to us. So look for those special pots of money. Yeah, there's organic. It's also available through Farm Service Agency. They're really pushing what you guys are trying to do right now. So don't be scared to reach out and at least look at these programs. The thing I like about all of these federal programs is the first time you come in, you're going to sign something, but that is not a contract, people. All that signature is doing is giving us an opportunity to provide you information. So like the CRP, if you're interested in a windbreak, a grass filter strip or something, you come in, sign up. We're going to get you measurements. We're going to get you details, everything. They're going to invite you back in. They're going to tell you what the rental rate's going to be, what seed they want you to plant. All that's going to be there. You don't need to sign anything that day. You can grab all that paperwork, go home, make sure it's what you can do, what you want to do financially, and then come back and sign it up. It's the same thing with Equip. It's the same with all these programs now. And that's kind of a big deal for you to realize that. Because we can't force you to do anything on the ground. It's your ground. All we're trying to do is provide you what we know at the time to be the best available thing. Okay, and I'm going to say that the best as we know it at this time, because our office has taken quite a few hits for the a few trees that we used to give away. You know, like honeysuckle and rosemary. Yeah. So we're trying to do things best we can. I mean, we used to do shoreline stream bank stabilization with I forget what the shrub and tree we used to put in. Willow posts. Oh, they were great. They grow fast. They protect the bank. And the beavers love them. Beavers love them. So now you'll see that when we do it, we generally do it with rock. And even though I dislike it, for some reason, the general population likes lime rock. So remember that picture back there with the white rock? That seems to be the most popular one. But believe it or not, you can use river rock. It just has to meet certain specs. So you can have a nice multicolor bank instead of that white. So, questions? Yes.
I was going to make a comment. I'm an ag lender. We've used guarantees with FSA for over the last 30 years. That is a tremendous program. When you walk into a bank with an organic operation that's new and different, and the government takes a 90% guarantee, that makes it a lot easier and more palatable to get done.
Yeah, see it right there, guys. Testimonial. Anybody else? Oh, got a few back there. Ask me anything. I don't work for the federal government, so I'll tell you what I see. Trust me.
Has things changed over the past? 'Cause about 4 or 5 years ago, or maybe it's a difference between organic versus conventional. I've been doing strip till and stuff like that there for quite a few years. And when I went into some of this stuff and talking about them, they said, you're too good of a farmer. You're not going to be saving enough stuff, the soil and everything, so they threw me out.
No, that was the most frustrating thing in our office for years. And then they came out with CSP. You want to look at CSP because that's the program for you because you're already doing all of the good things. We were punishing farmers that were doing the right thing for years. But the Conservation and Security Program was something, I may have said the wrong title. Those programs, now that has changed. You want to do CSP. They're going to pay you to continue doing the good things, but they're going to ask you to do a little more. But like I said, it's sometimes it can be as simple as changing the spray nozzles. Sometimes it can be as simple as changing the heater in your shop. There's a wide list of things. Ask them, and they can provide that for you. Oop, got one right here in the middle.
Who?
If I still have time, I'm trying not to push your time. Sorry.
How does the accountability get managed? You mentioned you can get paid for a fence and you can put it up in 4 years or whenever. How do you manage accountability of the money that's spent?
Oh, once you go to an equip, that'll be under equip, most likely. Once you go to that situation, you're going to work out a plan because a lot of times fence is expensive. So a lot of times farmers can't put in fence all in 1 year. So what they do is they'll work with you and they'll break it up over a certain number of years. And what they do then is it's up to you. Once you put it in, you bring in the bills and they'll register the bills. And then what'll happen is someone will go out and check the fence because it's got to meet our specs. And believe it or not, silly things happen. More than once we've gone out and the wire's been on the wrong side. But all of it's going to be laid out how it should be done and what you should choose because there's different fence for buffalo, for cattle, for goats, and they will work with you on what's needed to meet our specs and how it should be installed. But you'll be on your own. You'll go install it. You'll turn in the bills. Someone will run out and check on it. Sometimes they'll work with you as you install it, like water lines. They like to be out there as you're putting them in or right after you've put them in before you cover them up, just to verify that it's the right type of water hose, that it's at the right depth, that you're using sand around it and not just packing the dirt back in so that it, because the whole idea here, all these programs like CRP, anything we put in, grass waterways, we're paying you for 10 years. We're expecting you to have to do minimal work on what you install over that time period, all right? We're not trying to put something out there that you're constantly have to spend more and more money on. That's not the object. So like the fencing, I think they have 20 years they want you to keep it in place. So when they make their recommendation, yeah, you're going, oh my gosh. But the idea is you do it once, and for 20 years, unless you get a wild herd that runs through it, you shouldn't have to do anything to that fence, okay? So keep that in mind as you're doing it, because I look at those specs and sometimes I get overwhelmed, but then I remember we're being mean up front so you can kick back the rest of the time.
All right, well, please join me in thanking Jonathan. Thank you very much.